Okay, I'm going to call this meeting of the Gloucester School Committee to order. I'll remind everybody that the mission of Gloucester Public Schools is for all students to be successful, engaged, lifelong learners. And this meeting is recorded by video and audio in accordance with the state open meeting law, consistent with the governor's orders suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and banning gatherings of more than 25 people. This meeting will be conducted by remote participation. If you're calling on a phone, you can press *9 to request to speak. If you're watching on a computer, a device, there is a raise hand button that you can tap or press to request to speak. Please use either of these options during oral communications to be recognized to speak. And Maria, could we have a roll call for attendance?
Mayor Taken,
Yes.
Ms. Watson,
Yes.
Ms. Weason,
Yes, here.
Kathy Clancy,
Yes.
Mr. Favazza, not here yet. Chairman Pope
Here.
and Ms. Prince.
Here.
Okay. So it's recorded that 6 members are present, and we expect Mr. Favazza at any moment is in another meeting and trying to get out of that and into this one. Oral communications. If there's anybody here who would like to speak under oral communications, as I said before, you can press the *9 on your phone, or you can press the raise hand button on your device. Oral communications, the public shall have the opportunity at every regular school committee meeting to be heard under oral communications. Oral communications shall allow any resident who has a request or complaint of any nature relative to the school committee's business to appear before the school committee, state their problem without debate, and the matter may be referred to the proper subcommittee. Items that are on the agenda, members of the public may address the committee with permission of the chair. Persons speaking under oral communications shall be limited to 3 minutes each and shall submit a copy of their prepared communication to the recording secretary. The school committee chair shall not allow complaints as to individual performance or character. Okay, and we have Marianne Boucher. Marianne, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Marianne Boucher, 93 Mount Pleasant Avenue. I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you to Mr. Lummis for a conversation last night, although we may disagree and may not always see eye to eye on the situation at hand. I want to recognize that he took the time to have a nice open discussion with me. And I found that very pleasing. And I hope that can continue in the future. As you all know, I'm very interested in all that goes on in our schools and the children around our city and have been for a very long time. So thank you again. It was truly appreciated, as well as the conversation with other members of the school committee last night. Thank you.
Thank you, Marianne. Okay. Okay, seeing no other raised hands, we will close oral communications and we'll move on to what's next? Comments of the chairperson. I'll reserve those for recognitions. So we'll move on to recognitions. Does anybody would like to recognize anybody? Laura.
I want to recognize the school building committee and every member of that team that worked so hard on creating the schematic design and moving us towards the building of this or towards the vote yesterday, and then the building of a new school. And I also want to thank all the community members who were involved on both sides of the issue. I was really heartened to see so many people engaged and involved. And even if you weren't pleased with the outcome, I hope we can all work together as we move forward in this process, and we can hear everyone's input and move forward as a community for this community project.
Oops, Samantha?
I apologize ahead of time if you hear kids screaming in the background. I was going to say almost the exact same thing as Laura, so I just want to second that. You know, rain or shine, people were out holding signs over the last 3 weeks on either side of this topic, building the new school. So I just want to thank everybody for you know, such an outpouring and a good sort of democratic process. People sort of got out there, had conversations with each other. I sat there having conversations with Patty a couple days, and I just want to just thank everybody for getting out and making their voices heard.
Melissa?
For coming out. I think we did have a record turnout yesterday with as many people that came out. While I'm very happy with the vote on question 3, I also have concerns with how to move forward, knowing that it was such a tight race. And while I do believe we're headed in the right direction by building the school, there's clearly information that needs to get out there to people who may have voted no because they didn't get enough information. So I think we still have a lot of work to do. Like I said, I do feel good about the direction we're going in, but not really too much excited because I just feel like we still have stuff to do in our conversations. But just wanted to give a huge shout out, like all of us have, to everyone that came out and supported their position on the issue.
Safafia?
I co-echo with Melissa has to say. I'm sorry, I keep turning my head. I do have another Zoom meeting that's almost done. You know, last night, if a lot of you who were texting and were looking, you notice I didn't really put any comments on anything that's been going on. You know what? We did have a record turnout, and you know, 50% of the people today in this country is still divided, and all the races were close, and all the questions and concerns, and you know, it was COVID. We really couldn't have the meetings that we wanted to, and couldn't do some of the things we wanted to. Doesn't mean that we're not going to continue to hear, you know, the hard work and dedication of the opposition, and also face the facts that, you know, we've got a lot of learning to do among each other. And they always say, well, there's not enough transparency. Well, you know, when we look at what Carolyn Kirk wrote, well, you know, West Parish, we didn't need it. Well, yes, you did. And we didn't have transparency. And I said when I became mayor that, you know what, after the CSO project, I wanted the people to have the vote and people to have the say. And, you know, I really feel that it was difficult because of COVID. You know, a lot of people don't go on Zooms. A lot of people don't do a lot of things. And I really want us to make sure that we get the word out now that I don't have to worry about how do you reach out? How do we do news flyers? How do we do these things just to get what we're doing out there to seniors? And don't forget, seniors aren't just people who are 70, 80, 90. Okay. They are all of us. I'm going to be a senior soon. And to get the word out to people who don't go to the Zooms and but they do raise grandkids, or they're learning how to use that, what is it called, dojo or whatever, and all these new little gadgets, and where you get all your information now. And all the information is all electronic. And all the information is very difficult because not everyone has electronics or even, you know, hotspots, and we have to give them still. My granddaughter's teacher reached out at veterans and ask if everyone has Wi-Fi's or if they need hotspots or they have anything that they can go on, you know, based on a lot of the education things we're doing. I'm hoping that we can also work together on, you know, when we move forward, when we decide and we're doing that, and just to let also, you know, I don't feel that anyone won or anyone lost. I mean, we're all a community, and we need to build a better future, and we need to build a better communication. And we can start that by also working with the people who had the dedication of Meadowsfield to make sure that, you know what, I don't like people saying, well, Green Street, no, Green Street, they had a lot of constructions, a lot of things happening up there. They had a lot of work that we said we weren't going to do, and we do. And sometimes, you know what, we say that we're going to do something, and then a new city council is elected or school committee members, and things change, and then we do it another way. And we still have to face the fact that, promises were made, and things were said, and they get broken. So a lot of things were said and broken and hurt, and on both sides. I'm not just saying one side, but I want to make sure that they realize, and the family, if they're listening or whatever, we are going to respect Joseph Meadows. We're going to honor, his plaque and the playground, but we're also going to honor the work and dedication that the women and men did to make that baseball field. We're going to do it even better. And the same thing, like, people have to understand, we're not making it great for the whole world to take over. We're making it great for the hard dedication of the women's softball team, who was displaced from one place and going to be put in another place. And they have every right to do their own schedules there, to run that whole thing. They have every right to do what they want, because nobody bothered to go fix up, the veterans. Nobody bothered to go do all of that. They did it. They had the hard work, the dedication, putting up the lights, putting all of that, and use the field. And so they have first priority on all of the rights and stuff. And I can say that as mayor, until I'm mayor, and we can put it in that, when we move the lights and we do all that and we do the field, that they have first priority, like we did with Woodrose Field. Woodrose Field, the Little League uses it. So I don't know, besides, I think I'm seeing a couple of members on here. We need to work together, figure out what you really want and how we want it. And I know there's a little field there too that you use for practicing, and we could leave for practicing. Let's now work together. Let's now work together on how we really need to do things. And the building committee that's going to come forward, just so you know, I KT Eunice, and there's another gentleman I put on. He's a contractor. Still going to be looking, I believe, for East Gloucester mom or dad, and join. Let's work together in building these two schools how we really think. And yes, we're going to look at traffic. Yes, we're going to look at all these things. Let's start working together, because you know what we saw this past year, I don't think we want to continue this way. It's bad enough the rest of the country is going to be figuring out what's going to happen. But you know what? Let's see if we can move together, find out what's happened. We did it. We did it when we had an outbreak. We had an outbreak of COVID. And I asked everyone, please pull together. We went from 7 to 79. We're back to 14. We're working down. We asked our teachers to trust us. We asked our teachers, you know what, you need to go to school. Trust us. We're going to open the schools. We're going to try to protect you. I can't guarantee nothing. Either can Ben. We're going to work. We're going to try to let you know. In the beginning, well, you didn't give us all the information. So Ben turned around and he started sending out all these things. Some might alert some parents. We're here to serve you. And we only can fix the problems if you help us. We can't continue to fight the problems and try to fix the problems. So I'm just asking everyone, let's take back our whole city. Let's work together and let's move forward. Thank you.
We're just to correct one thing there. We are looking for a veterans parent for a position on the building committee.
Okay.
Katie is actually the East Gloucester parent.
All right. Thank you.
Kathy.
Yeah, I just wanted to also recognize the whole process and the involvement of so many people in the community that have, attended our building committee meetings, both in person and when we went online. And those who have concerns have raised very good concerns that I don't think are insurmountable, but certainly will be things that, as a member of the building committee, we make sure we flesh out and really pay close attention to. And I think, an idea of neighborhood flyers in that area so people know what's going on when things are happening. I do think it's a respectful way to just get information out closer to the people who will be physically affected, particularly as construction begins. And just having that open dialogue with people attending our meetings and maybe holding some information meetings specifically at certain key points in the project. Because as we know, I would assume a lot of people did not have as much involvement or knowledge of the question as we would have liked. So, thankfully it was approved, but we can definitely always communicate more. No matter how much you communicate, it's the extra communication may be the time somebody actually hears it. So I do appreciate everybody's involvement, both for and against. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, everybody. I think you've covered all the points that I might have touched on. So let's move on to our Student Advisory Council. We have Mia and Katie, Christina, excuse me. So please introduce yourself and tell us what's going on at Gloucester High School.
Hi, everyone. everyone. My name is Mia Wheeler. I'm a senior and captain of the field hockey team at GHS, which is going well. Thanks for asking. We just beat Danvers on Thursday, actually, or when was it? Monday. So that's our big thing. That's what we wanted to do. Currently, NHS is holding a food drive for the open door. They usually do really well with that, so that's very exciting. And they're doing like big baskets, so that a family can get a turkey, all the Thanksgiving things. That's what I got.
Any questions of the students? Okay, well, you're welcome to stay. It'd be very exciting, but I understand you may have homework to do. So thank you very much. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda that anyone would like to remove for further discussion? Okay. Seeing none, do we have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Okay. Maria, could we have a roll call vote?
Mayor Taken,
Yes.
Ms. Watson,
Yes.
Ms. Weason,
Yes.
Kathy Clancy,
Yes.
Chairman Pope,
Yes.
and Ms. Prince.
Yes.
Thank you very much. It passes unanimously. The next item is our deliberations on educational issues and superintendent's report. We will start, we have 3 items tonight. We'll start with the superintendent's update on the schools.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, committee members. So we have a few things to go over tonight. 1 second here, here we go. Just always reminding folks about the safe return of as many students as possible to in-person school settings to maximize learning, address our students' full needs, and support community and family needs, which we continue to do a great job on. I reported last week that things are developing a sense of normalcy, if you can imagine that, but that's a testament to our teachers, our students, and certainly our staff and families. Tonight, we'll give you an update first about the East Gloucester Veterans Memorial School project, which all of you just chimed in on. I will get my chance to chime in on in a moment. We'll get an update from the Gloucester Education Foundation, one of our greatest partners who support us in so many ways, and we'll learn about what they're doing in and for the schools. Get a professional development report from Assistant Superintendent Bach and Principals Beatty and Cook, and then I'll give you a COVID update, which continues to be good news. So just quickly here. So on the East Gloucester. So of course, thank you, Gloucester, for supporting our schools, our students, our teachers, our families, and really the city's future. And I'm just really appreciative of all the work that went in by so many people. Some people have acknowledged my efforts, which were very small in comparison and very late to the game. But it really was a team effort, and it took every single bit. I was able to visit veterans in East Gloucester today to thank the teachers and just congratulate them on all the work they did in so many ways. And then I really do want to, just really acknowledge, thank you, Ms. Boucher, for your kind remarks to start the meeting. I too enjoyed our conversation there. You are clearly hardier than I am and standing out for the whole day. I kind of wimped out after a short amount of time, but I do appreciate, I really appreciate everyone who, advocated in opposition to question 3. While they were opposed to question 3, there was never any doubt that they supported students, our schools, our city, and they may have had a different answer than I did in terms of what the next step was, but they certainly were passionate and really worked hard for their point of view and their ideas. And that is on all sides, a great example to our students and our young folks in the city about how to do something well and have a profound or a significant public debate from many sides. and how to then also, now we'll also show folks how to move forward together. So, I just really want to commit to, better and better communication, and commit to doing whatever I can to build, and also in some ways rebuild trust of community members. Some folks who may have have lost some trust and faith in that we will do what we say we will, and we'll do it well, and we'll do it openly. But it's just something that I think we'll continue as a group to do better, and I'm looking forward to that. So just a really, really positive step for the community as a whole, and very well done by everybody. So immediate next steps there, so there's a lot of work to do now. That was an important milestone for the city, but now there's a lot of work. And so I'll just give you immediate next steps. Will be communication with MSBA about the positive vote. We know that they already are aware of it because they watch these things closely, but we'll communicate with them officially. We're finalizing the RFP for swing space that'll be needed for the veterans school. So maintain that process and make sure it remains on time. We expect to get that out later this month. Make that publicly available later this month. And then there's a building committee meeting tomorrow where we will continue the process and just get clear on next steps. And just then to remind folks about where we've been and where we're going. So a couple of new check mark here. So as everyone knows, since 2016, been through the various stages of the MSBA process, leading up to the vote for project funding, which was successful yesterday. That means we now enter into the design, development, and construction phase, which may start a little bit earlier than January. But that is, finalizing of the design and getting much more specific and detailed, and ultimately developing construction documents from which a building can be built. That design development will continue to engage the staff and families of those two schools, so they'll be well aware of developments as they go along and can provide input, continue to provide input. And then we would have site demolition. Site prep would begin after the school year's finished. That begins in the summer, and then anticipated to begin instruction just about a year from now in October 2021. So, and at this point, you'll hear me say this a lot. It is on time, and we are aiming to have it on time and under budget. And that would mean finished by June in 2023. So a lot of work to do, but really, really hit a tremendous milestone yesterday with the support of so many people. I'm going to we're going to hold on the professional development update, and I'm going to hand things over to Arya Mclainey from the Gloucester Education Foundation. As I mentioned before, let me stop sharing. Really, really pleased to have Arya here tonight. Really, really pleased. Cannot say enough about the Gloucester Education Foundation. When I was interviewing, so many people mentioned the foundation and its great work. And that's certainly, I've learned so much about it in the past few months. Work really closely with Arya, and are regularly getting inquiries from our staff and our principals. Can we move forward with this? Can we apply to the foundation for that? And they are super good ideas, which are helping our students on so many students and staff on so many levels. And Arya is here to give an update on the work that this foundation is supporting in all of our schools. So welcome, Arya. Thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you. Thank you. Good to be here. I am going to share my screen because I have a couple little slides.
Do you have permission to do that?
Can I do that? I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe not.
Yeah, you can. Maria, if you could give Arya permission to share her screen, that'd be great. If you keep clicking on that link, ultimately you'll have the.
Okay. It'll happen soon. I mean, it's not crucial that I do it right this second, so I can jump in while she's doing that. We've been around for 15 years at GEF, believe it or not. And over that time, a really fantastic partnership has developed with the school district, like Ben was referring to. And I feel really lucky that I came into this role as executive director to come into this really strong relationship and a solid foundation you know, this relationship includes teachers, administrators, parents, students, and it really enables us to accomplish so much in the Gloucester schools only because all these groups of people are coming together and making it happen. So excited to be here doing that work with all of you. I also wanted to say thanks to Ben for just diving right in with GEF and being accessible and an open-minded listener. And even during this time when you have a heavier load than we could probably even imagine. Thank you for just being there and jumping on board. And also a quick shout out to Greg Bach too. Greg has just been such a longtime thought partner to GEF. Greg, you are always willing to brainstorm and think outside the box and be creative. And as a result, so many amazing things have happened in the schools. So we're really grateful for you, and we recognize how much you're doing right now. So thank you. We're lucky to have you. I'm just going to give you tonight a quick overview of recent things that are happening in the schools. Oh, it looks like I can share my screen.
You can.
There we go. So this is just a few pictures of some things that have happened in the last few months. But before I go into you know, talking about recently funded projects, I also just wanted to quickly say that the only reason these projects are happening is because our teachers are meeting the challenges of this year head on and just rolling up their sleeves and making things happen. They're figuring out workarounds. They're figuring out new ways to do things. And so we are at GEF, we're really happy to be part of all this innovation that's happening and all this hard work, and by putting some funding behind these great ideas that are happening all throughout the district. So thank you to teachers too for taking the time to send in applications recently. We're looking forward to receiving more, as you know, we know things are shifting and changing weekly right now. Your needs are evolving, and we just want you to know that we're going to be here. We're looking forward to working. We at GEF, we always do a spring fundraising appeal, and we sort of shifted our approach this year. We did we launched a school response fund. Some of you guys probably know that. So that instead of just doing a standard, you know, ask for donations, we kind of put it around a response to the challenges that schools are facing right now. And the purpose of that was to build just a really flexible pool of funding that's readily available, that we can access really quickly and respond to new needs or new ideas that are coming up to make this school year work. We had a really great response to that from the community. We've had well over 200 donors to it. A lot of people who are new donors have come in around the school response fund, and also people who haven't maybe given in a while but are giving now. So that's had some really good results. So to give you just kind of an overview, this slide shows things that have happened sort of since the spring that we've been able to fund, and I'll just kind of highlight a few things. I also just wanted to say that like these projects, a lot of them are responding to the current time we're in and needs that teachers are facing with the hybrid schedule or the remote schedule. And but they all actually are investments in kind of the long term, and will be resources to the schools for years to come, which I think is exciting. Even when we go back to normal, the things that are happening, these projects will continue and to benefit our students and our schools. At the high school recently, you all might have seen in the paper the other day that the Lion Law Auto Group came through with their second year of funding for the Auto Tech department, which is a really generous 3-year gift that they've made to the high school. It funds a position in the Auto Tech department. It's a really lovely partnership with the Lion Law Auto Group. So we're excited to be, you know, helping to facilitate that gift again this year. We also have recently gotten new funding or continued funding from Applied Materials Foundation, who are a wonderful partner to our schools as well. We're going to continue our Girls in STEM program at the high school this year, moving it to a more virtual format. But the Girls in STEM program helps kind of bridge the gap between middle and high school and keeping girls in the sciences and introducing girls to science careers and that kind of thing. So that's ongoing. We have also funded, some lab-based technology so that kids could do lab-based science at home or online, keeping that concept of hands-on learning going. That's a project that Carol Cafaso applied for to us. We recently are have approved funding for some technology for the music department at the high school. So to enhance their ability to record music and share music virtually with people. And then also in the future, just have really high quality recordings to share what they're doing with the community. At the middle school, as you guys know, we recently funded a project for the science department to kind of consolidate all the STEM labs and all of the really good work that's been happening there for years with the science teachers at O'Malley to kind of take the science labs to the next level and consolidate them all into one wing of the school, which actually is helping with traffic flow through with COVID regulations. It kind of keeps all the kids in one area while they're doing their sciences. And also we'll be able to bring in a scientist in residence, basically, like to work with the kids, a person who's a science graduate who can help train the kids on how to use professional equipment and manage the labs and bring new ideas for projects to the middle school. So that's an exciting project that's the ball's rolling on that and will continue throughout this year and next year and years to come, basically. At the elementary level, we've recently the music teacher from Beeman requested ukuleles for her students. It's been tough on music this year because there's no after school band. Kids can't really sing. You can't play recorders, which they usually do at elementary. And so she's innovating and bringing in ukuleles because those are safe for kids to use. So just things like that are happening all throughout the district. They're fifth graders, the fifth grade teachers are figuring out how to still do a play this year, which is so exciting. West Parish has theirs already up and running. And we're excited for the rest of the schools to follow suit. So those are just a few examples, some district-wide things that are happening. We recently funded our first student grant to Mila Berry for her Art for Equity project, which has been really pretty amazing. She's leading a group of students to create banners to hang in the community to raise money to purchase diverse literature for the different school libraries, taking a real leadership role in the community and pulling together other students. So that's exciting. That's a kind of a new door that's open for GEF to work directly with students, which has been really neat. And looking ahead, things that are kind of in the works right now, we're working with the district to talk more and more about remote learning centers and really looking at the needs as they come up with both the hybrid and the fully remote schedule for the schools, like for kids who need a safe space to do their learning and don't have that at home. We're seeing how we can partner with community organizations. The Sawyer Free Library has already jumped on board and is completing this, and we're seeing how we can expand that concept to provide resources to kids who just can't successfully do their remote learning at home. We're also, as an organization at GEF, we're going to be jumping into a strategic planning process this year, which is exciting to set goals and look at, how we're structuring our funding in the years to come and how we can just continue to provide, as much support to the school district as possible. And looking ahead to the spring, we have a lot of events that usually happen in the spring. There's the Power of Play, there's the district-wide arts festival. We haven't written those things off. We're brainstorming and thinking how we can accomplish these things creatively and safely, given, the challenges that we're in right now. But we're looking forward to that, to having a chance to be creative. So that's all from me.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the committee? I can't see everybody, so.
Here, I can stop sharing.
Well, seeing none, thank you very much, Arya.
Right.
And it's great to see you again and inside as opposed to standing holding signs and such.
Absolutely. Yes.
The weather. So we'll move on, Ben.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Arya.
Thank you, Arya.
Very much. Okay, so let me go back and the next segment of our work tonight will be led by Greg Bach. Let me just pull this up here. And he'll, and also Principals Cook and Beatty. will be sharing about professional development that's happening this year. Kathy, can you see the presentation? Great, thank you. Greg, you're on.
Great, thank you. It looks good. Thank you, everyone. And I know Arya has gone, but I just have to say what a pleasure it's been to work with GEF for so long and to have such a great partner. I can't imagine a better organization to work with so closely over the years. Fantastic work. So this is a quick update on professional development. It's an unusual year, as you know, in lots of ways, and professional development. Typically, for example, for November, we start planning almost a year ahead for November. And we had, as you recall, the last 2 years, we had just at the K through 8 level alone, we had over 60 sessions going throughout the day and lots of live presenters. All of that really had to be turned almost upside down and refocused. I know that you got a bit of an overview before we were heading into the opening days, but I thought what I would do tonight is just take a few minutes and do a quick recap of some of the professional development that took place a little bit in the summer, a fair amount during the first 10 days, and then, whoops, that's a different slide. And then most recently during the professional development day yesterday. So if you could go to the next slide. Great. So it was a very different year where we typically have all kinds of summer workshops and trainings. Many of our staff members, I believe well over 100, were engaged in reopening planning teams and also on remote learning teams. So we tried to focus in, narrow in, and in the summer we had universal design for learning training. We did continue with some book studies in math, literacy, and SEL. And I have to say the book studies have been extremely popular. And those are led by our teachers. And we'll do more of those throughout the year and next summer. They're extremely popular, and the teachers do a great job on those. We had a fair amount of technology and remote learning training, dyslexia training with Melissa Orkin for pre-K through 5. Our 2 math coaches, Janet Donovan and Kristen Parsons, met with a pretty large team that is piloting a revision of the math program, the Math in Focus math program. They met in August to begin their training and despite everything that's going on, are continuing with their pilot through this year. Home-based advisory training and also executive functioning and study skills at the middle school. So those were some of the summer activities. First 10 days, as we discussed briefly in August, I think in our opening plans, looked quite different. And if you could click on the detail and schedule, I'll give you a little bit of an idea of what took place at the elementary schools, and Lynn and James can share a little bit about the high school and middle school.
Greg, can you see that? Is it showing?
Yep, that's showing fine.
Okay, great.
So this is just a district-wide overview grid from the first 10 days for elementary, and you can see it was a mix of planning time as well as professional development. You can see some of the things in green. We began with health and safety training district-wide, led by our nurses and nurse leader. We had universal precautions and some of the mandatory trainings on day 2. But we also had a large block of live trainings, live remote trainings on learning management systems like Seesaw, which one of our teachers, 2 of our teachers at West Parish really advocated for something more user-friendly for our younger grades, and Seesaw was what they recommended. And we had training in the summer, and it has really taken off. It's been the feedback from parents and from teachers who've been using it has really been quite good. So we had trainings in Seesaw as well as Google Classroom and Zoom. More Zoom trainings and Google Classroom the following day. And then we also had a couple days of district-wide training, sharing of resources from what had worked well in the spring and what people had learned over the summer. And those grade level trainings were led by lead teachers from across the district. So we just had an enormous push from a lot of really dedicated teachers who came forward to lead their colleagues. It was extremely successful. Mental health first aid. Patty Wegman helped arrange this with, I believe, working with Amy Kim at the high school to bring district-wide training on mental health first aid. Number of days across, rotating through each of the buildings. And then we had, near the end of the week, literacy training, empowering writers training, and more technology. If you could take a quick click on EGS, for example, this is what a building schedule looked like for that 10 days. And it just gives you an idea of how, over the summer, how carefully planned these kinds of things were, even when news of having 10 days came rather late. And I have to hand it to the entire administrative team, the principals, the teachers who worked so hard to put together what typically we would have spent a year planning for. They did in short weeks in the summer. So there's a school view. One more tab, if you could click on it, is self-paced options. A team of teachers and coaches worked with me to create a self-paced resource catalog of the kinds of things that we use in our schools. So if we look at something, for example, Dibble's 8th, we implemented a new Dibble's assessment, and there was a Dibble's 8th description, friendly sort of language description that would be transitioning this year. And over on the right, where to go for the training and how to use the self-paced modules. Many cases they were video, sometimes they were written tutorials, but we tried to cover all of the things that we were going to be using or had adopted and put them in a self-paced so that at any given time during that 10 days or throughout the fall, teachers could revisit this during PLC time, during planning time, and do this on their own pace. And I just got a note yesterday from somebody who had revisited the self-paced catalog just yesterday during some time and said how great it was to be able to now look back and do things that they had not done. So it just turned out to be a really nice mix of sharing across across each school, things led by teachers, live trainings, and also self-paced. Really nice combination. And perhaps if Lynn or James would like to talk about the middle and high, unless there are any questions about elementary. Anything you'd like me to focus on? Okay. That slide. Let's take a look at the middle school.
Go in order to the middle school. Okay.
Yeah, Lynn did a nicer job with their colors than I did.
It's only so I could tell the spaces apart. Greg was kind enough to set up the model for us to use, a floor plan, so to speak. So things were pretty similar at the middle school to how Greg described for elementary. We had a series of tasks that were set up for people, lots of planning time included. We started each day with time in the morning for people to check in with the nurses if they had questions, and also a mindfulness prompt. So this year our homeroom is a little bit extended, and we've provided some mindfulness activities, journals, prompts for kids to do in homeroom daily. So we put these together for the 10 days so that the teachers could work through those prompts and understand how they would work and practice with them a little bit. We had a lot of teachers participating in running sessions for their colleagues, most notably from the summer work groups, the remote learning groups. We had sessions on the study skills curriculum that was developed that's now been implemented, a social emotional learning group that set up a number of structures for us and had some influence into changes in the advisory curriculum this year. We ran several different technology opportunities for primarily focused on the Google Suite. So a couple of different sessions at different levels for Google Classroom, Google Calendar, Google Slides, and HyperDocs and choice boards, the kinds of things that people were using most prominently. We also had Dan Graham did a refresh on our trauma sensitive practices in a workshop. And then we had things like a training overview run by Greg, actually, for the STAR 360 assessment, which was new to us this year. And then a variety of self-paced timeframes specifically for UDL, going back to the webinars that were provided by Katie Novak, and some other resources that we had. Also some technology choices like Screencastify and Edpuzzle and Flipgrid and Newsela, tools that we have in play. And we've got a portfolio of tutorials available to staff for them to spend some time with. We have, Ben, would you mind just clicking on the self-paced options to show that for a second, and then I'll come back here. Down at the bottom, that tab. Thanks. So similar to elementary, there were descriptions and links to different kinds of tutorials, and it was set up for people to work on what they felt they needed to or wanted to take the next step with. So it's and this remains on our, we have what I call the O'Malley Info Hub. It's a hyperdoc where we store all of our resources that teachers bookmark. And so this remains on our Info Hub so people can go back to it. And would you mind going back to the O'Malley tab, please? So then there was also time set aside for a good deal of time for curriculum planning and classroom prep time, working together as house teams on how they were going to do things like transition among their classes within their houses. And then they had a couple of sessions to plan the orientation days for when we had kids come in. The big kind of interesting thing was on Thursday, September 3rd, we did a student experience day that I think I've talked about before, where the teachers ran through a schedule similar to what the students experience every day, where they went into classes in person, and we provided 3 different trainings that we needed to do. One was on logistics of how traffic patterns would go and how attendance would be taken and how we would move around the building. And then there were the second mandatory health trainings conducted by our nurses for EpiPens and universal precautions and things like that. And then the other mandatory trainings by the district, I got to do that one, the real dry one, which was on discrimination, harassment, the 51A training, those kinds of things. So throughout the teachers, I got good feedback that it was the pace was good. They felt like they had a good amount of time to work with their colleagues and participate. Particularly from the student experience day, I had people come by and say that they were really glad we did that because their anxiety about how it was going to look in the classroom, how it was going to feel, whether there was enough space for kids, was really diminished by that experience and being in there with other people for the first time in their rooms, and understanding how that was going to play out when we actually had kids in there. And I think that's everything.
That means I'm up next. So lot of similarities in structure to what we did at the high school, and that's really has a lot to do with the meetings that the administrative team was able to have together over the summer months. Able to share ideas with and receive ideas from the elementary principals, from Lynn and the O'Malley team, and from Ben and from Greg. So that was the only way that we could get to a point where we could put something like this together. And then with a reopening committee and a remote learning committee of teachers who put their input into what we were able to come up with. So I'm just going to, rather than taking you through each of the pieces, I'm going to organize things into 3 themes that you will see throughout what we put together. And so we had, the in-person building safety issues. What is it going to take to be in person? That was one theme. Welcome back and COVID safety training, some of the unique in-person policies that would need to take place at the high school in order to have students in person. After talking with Lynn, I also put in a start the day check-in that included check-in with the nurses for any things that came up as we are in the building together. What sorts of things are we thinking about having students? And then that also included our version of a departmental time for us to get used to what it will be like for students to be in the building. So we did that work, and that was woven throughout the weeks. Then a second theme that we had was we really wanted to emphasize the importance of relationship building, knowing how difficult that would be in a remote environment to begin, and then transitioning into a hybrid environment with a remote component, how we knew we needed to really foreground relationship building. So I was very fortunate to have Emily Harney and David DePietro, 2 teachers who led culturally responsive relationship building. So building on our theme of culturally responsive teaching, learning, relationship building, educational partnerships. The teachers built on that. Our racial equity team did work around race and our students, and we put that together. Just an excellent collaboration to put together a multi-layered racial equity professional development in this theme of relationship building. I want to highlight Master Sergeant Carcel Dubose, Nancy Goodman, and Jim Eunice as folks from the faculty who helped out tremendously with that PD. Then another component, so different from relationship building, but still related to student well-being, was the psychological first aid training you heard about earlier for our full staff, as well as partnering with Project Adventure through a grant to further deepen the theme of relationship building for students. So there's both in-house things as well as some support from the outside. And then at the heart of what we do, having established a foundation of physical safety and emotional well-being for students as themes, now what are we doing with that foundation to engage students in learning in a remote environment and in a hybrid environment? So there were, the key here was, how does the technology we need match with our culturally responsive teaching, our model of igniting learning, chunking the material, giving students an opportunity to actively process it or chew it, as we say, and then reviewing that material. So the ignite, chunk, chew, review, what does that look like in a digital environment and in a hybrid environment? So I had folks who were working at a beginner level with the technology to make sure we could do the remote learning well. So David DePietro, Samantha Texera, as well as some tutorials that, just like at the elementary and the middle school level, things teachers could do on their own to learn. And then more advanced technology that allows us to engage students in some richer ways with Kim Trigilio and Alyssa D'Antonio running that professional development. And again, providing opportunities for people to go off on their own. Certain technology is more related to a science curriculum or a math curriculum or an English curriculum, and folks are able to go deeper into that and return to it, as you've heard from the other folks later. So those are our 3 themes, are what we wove in to the first 10 days, that looking at the safety, physical being in the building, the relationship building and emotional well-being aspect of it, and then using technology to create engaging learning for students. And we'll keep that theme throughout the year, those 3 themes. So that's the beginning for the high school.
Any questions from the committee? Kathy?
I just want to say how impressed I am by all the work that went into planning really meaningful professional development. Talking about your word ignite, it's so nice to actually have a presentation about the learning, the work, the teaching. It's been a while as we are dealing with more crisis topics and things like that. So I applaud all of you for making a very productive use of this time at a time when our effectiveness of our educators is paramount, given the challenges of the environment our kids are learning. So thank you. And thank you, Greg, because I can see your handprint on all over everything, and the tremendous organization and thought and topics that have been planned for the education.
And we're only halfway done as well, because we also have to talk about what happened yesterday, which is a whole bunch of great stuff. Other questions though,
No.
or comments just so far on what you've seen?
I don't see any. Oh, Laura.
I just had a quick question. What is a book study, Greg?
A book study, so when, for example, the math coaches would select a book that is around a particular mathematical concept or way of thinking and approaching something, or Zaretta Hammond's Culturally Responsive Teaching in the Brain, for example, where a staff member is really, typically they might have gone to a conference and really liked the speaker or or that particular text or book that was referenced, and then they come back and lead a study group of teachers who will meet 3, 4, 5 times and read particular chapters and then get together to talk about that book. They're very structured about their notes and the practice that they go through. It's just, they're extremely informative. They're learning from each other. They're really engaged. They love it. We had something we'd like to do a lot more of too.
Great, thank you.
Melissa?
This question is just directed to anyone, I guess. Can you tell me what the feedback, if any, was from all the professional development that went forward? And if you did get the feedback, because I know you usually request it, did it identify any other areas of concern that the teachers would like more assistance with in future professional development?
Yeah, we did. We had quite a bit of positive feedback from the first 10-day section, and then I'll share some of the feedback we got as of yesterday. I grabbed the survey results this morning, and I just noticed that more came in during the day, but it was only yesterday. So I got a pretty good number, got over 100 respondents just from yesterday. Some of the things that they said about the first 10 days, they wish that they had had more time for a lot of the topics, because there was so much to do. There was a lot of planning to get ready for. And it seems like a lot of time, but if we remember, there were there were things like physical classroom setup going on. There were things like COVID precautions. So there were a lot of things on their minds and a lot of things they had to plan for. And one of the key pieces of feedback that I got was we really wish we had about 3 or 4 more days simply devoted to some of those core topics that we had covered. And so that was a good thing to hear, is that for the most part, people simply said, boy, we wish we had more of this. Then I'll share some of the feedback we got from yesterday. I copied comments verbatim without editing anything but a single sentence that identified the speaker, the person who wrote it. Everything else is there. I didn't censor anything, and we'll just skim it really quickly, but you'll get an idea. For the most part, people were very grateful for the time that they had yesterday, found the presenters to be really good and on target and very relevant. And so that was the feedback that I got back just fairly recently about yesterday. I don't know, Lynn and James, if you have a quick response to that.
I have the feedback I asked for yesterday was really not feedback about the day. It was really more comments, follow-up comments about the specific sessions. So I'll be sending out a quick form to ask about the whole day and the structure and the sessions, in terms of process, but I don't have that yet.
Yes, and I would say about the beginning days and about the PD yesterday, a lot of what we're doing is that when I presented the themes that we have, those themes help anchor us, but then over the course of the 10 days, we made adjustments to the PD based on, a first session led to an adjustment in a second or third session. So we're confident, the instructional leadership team and the building leadership team with, lots of feedback from teachers are confident about our themes. And then we have to, continuously, we're making adjustments to the professional learning community time and the PD we're planning based on the nuances within those themes. So it's a lot, because we're learning a lot as we sail this ship that we've built here. So
Just to add one more thing, following up to what James said, I do think that people really appreciated the time during the 10 days, both to learn some of the tools that they needed to use and apply, maybe a little more differently and more extensively than they had in the past. But the other piece that I think they found really valuable was that opportunity to collaborate. And there were a number of comments wishing that we could do something like this every year. So not that we want it because of from the root cause that we had to do it, but they get a lot out of collaboration time and they learn a lot from each other. And it's hard because we never feel like we have enough as much as we do have.
And thank you all. Appreciate it.
Any other questions?
Okay.
So you want to talk about yesterday?
Yeah.
Thanks. And there's a little bit less to cover here, so this will go faster than the first 10 days.
Greg, you can see the November 3rd.
Yeah, we're good. Yep.
Good.
We really focused in on key themes again of engagement, and particularly engagement as it relates to the teaching of literacy and math and the virtual learning tools, and also social emotional learning. If you could click on the PD catalog and schedule. This is a schedule that went out for pre-K through 5. It went out 2 weeks prior and people signed up for sections. You can see up at the top, if you go back up there, Melissa Orkin, professor at Tufts University, she did the dyslexia training in the spring. She had a tailored course specifically for focusing on motivation. I think Ben actually attended one of those sessions, motivation among struggling readers. And then, so there were 2 sessions in the morning with choices, and everybody could sign up for literacy in the top or math. Rebecca Lord from Crafting Minds, Introduction to Dyscalculia, as well as targeted math instruction. Those were very, very popular, lots of great feedback. Emily Wilson, who did some work with us a year ago, had a couple sessions designed specifically for the time we find ourselves in, trauma-informed care for our students and ourselves. The title is Teaching in Tough Times. Then we had some favorites taught by our own staff members. Kim Lacoste, who was one of the people who pushed hard for the Seesaw LMS, the more user-friendly, student-friendly version of Google Classroom, for example. Did another training on Seesaw. We're really grateful for Kim Lacoste and Bridget Reed and Krista Houghton with Google Classroom. And then a trio from 2 from West Parish and 1 from Beeman, Taryn Gracia, Jen Grant, and Stacy Alexander did a session on Zoom for educators, which I believe had almost 60 participants in one session. They were hopping, and it was extremely well received, and a lot of people have requested that we repeat most of these again so that they could have a chance. We did record most of these sessions, and teachers have already reached out to ask for the recordings so that they could see things that they missed. We left 1 spot open for people to return to the technology catalog from the first 10 days. And then Dr. Katie Novak has been doing live UDL webinars throughout August and September. And those were all recorded. I think 9 of them have been completed. And a number of teachers wrote to say that they had looked at those for the first time at the elementary level and loved them and would like to keep going with those. So that was a really good resource. Paraprofessionals had specific things in the afternoon on the right around literacy, math, and trauma-informed care. And then teachers and principals requested building-based team time in the afternoon. That's what the pre-K through 5 day looked like. We won't go into it, but down below, these are the workshop descriptions. It goes for several pages, and those were the descriptions of each of the sessions. And this is what teachers got, staff members got about 10 days prior, got a chance to look through those and then sign up for things that they wanted. We didn't turn anybody away from anything. If they wanted to pile into one session, we were able to do it. And there were we did a survey with results. As I said, more came in this afternoon. Just a really quick skim, had breakdown of what roles are, how people, if they felt that there was some room for improvement in the session, or if they would definitely recommend it to a colleague. The blue there represents those who did not take that particular session. So if there was things in the yellow and the green, that was really good. And for the most part, almost every session was about 70% or above in the yellow and the green. And let's go back up from there. And a quick look at just some of the comments. These were oops, sorry about that. That's okay. Just 2 pages worth of comments, completely unedited. I don't think there's a single one in there that didn't say, thank you, this was great. I heard from a fellow teacher that I should have taken the other one as well, and hopefully we'll get to see those again. So I think it was a very positive day.
All right, at the middle school, we didn't do multiple sessions with choice. We set up a more traditional structured day, started with coffee and treats in the morning for those who were in the building. And then we had the good fortune to schedule Katie Novak to do a virtual workshop for all of the staff, designing lessons for all learners. And she did a very nice job hitting the needs of the whole staff, whereas many people have viewed the webinars that Greg mentioned. I have several staff members who are participating in a full year graduate level course that she is teaching. So she brought a session to us that allowed everybody to really think a little differently about how they're approaching and teaching and learning. And this is going to be a key framework for instruction for us. We started working with it last year. Several of our staff did a 3-part training last year through Essex County Learning Community and did one of the 2-hour PDs with staff in January last year. So we're continuing this work, and we really want to grow with it and continue our understanding. So that was the first part of the day. And then we had 2 different sessions during the day. The first one was revisiting our mission, vision, and core values. One of the things that came out of our work with the system of sustainable support from DESE and in our plan that you'll learn about in an upcoming meeting is that we really need to define our instructional focus. So I'm starting with that, paring down to what our values are to make sure that we're all in alignment and we have a clear set of very succinct core values that align with our mission and vision statements. The vision is from the innovation plan at this point. The mission, I think, is a combination of earlier work and the innovation plan. And then we have a set of core belief statements that is very long. So we do want to revisit this, make sure we're all on the same page and move forward. So we'll finish that work up at a faculty meeting coming up. But in this session and the later one I'll talk about, we worked for about 20 minutes to a half an hour with presentation, and the other half an hour to 40 minutes. Teachers were in breakout groups, working individually to apply the information. Middle of the day before lunch, we added in a self-care session. I think it's really essential right now for us to support the teachers and all of our staff, making sure that they keep self-care in their mind. So we had a couple of our colleagues run a yoga class, a mindfulness and vision board class. And then people had an option of doing a relaxation walk, and then there was a set of choices of shorter kinds of self-care activities, or 50 on the list, I think, that people can choose from. And I'm hoping and will encourage people to continue to bring those into their daily practice so that they're doing a check-in on themselves about the stress and anxiety and the pressure everybody's feeling to do what we're doing as well as we are. And the final session of the day was on professional learning communities, again, from our innovation plan and also in our sustainable improvement plan, the need for us to work in an efficient, systematic way with professional learning communities to use student work and data in our conversations. And we talked specifically yesterday about bringing them in that process into our student review teams as the starting point. We'll also build it into curriculum meetings and grade level meetings, et cetera. But we're starting with SRTs and putting in the processes to help people really delve into it with hard evidence and make good decisions to help our kids grow. So as I mentioned earlier, feedback I asked for from the 2 sessions were really continuing the conversation and the topic more than feedback about the day. So I still have to get a short feedback tool out to people to get their response for the UDL session and the self-care, et cetera.
Okay, and then at the high school, our professional development day that you're looking at, this is the aspect of the day for teachers. Our paraprofessionals were engaged in keys to literacy professional development so that they're able to support the Keys to Literacy initiative in the school, which brings reading comprehension strategies across the curriculum to students. And so the paraprofessionals can support that effort. So for teachers, we started the day with a faculty meeting to address some of the issues that have come up around the hybrid learning schedule and the remote academy. I'm just able to share some themes and answer some questions from the faculty, and some time at the beginning of the day, which is always really vital and important, those check-ins. And then for the rest of the day, folks were, our big theme for the day was around reassessing what is essential and thinking about our pacing through the year, right? We know what we expect in a usual year, and we're making adjustments as we move about what is most essential for students to have. And in thinking about what's most essential, we're also thinking of how can we maximize the time we have with students in the classroom for the most engaging activities with students. So teachers have reported that students who are attending consistently in the hybrid model, that they're starting to get into the groove, so to speak, to quote one person's feedback. The more the in-person time, the more active students are in the in-person time, the more they're doing to process their learning, the more they're doing to demonstrate to the teacher what they've learned, and then the feedback that they get about their processing and their demonstration of learning, the better. So how can we do that in the hybrid environment and with the restrictions we have even in the classroom, and engage the remote learners as well? So that looks different in each discipline at the high school level. So each department had time to work with a consultant, Carol Gregory, that we've built up a relationship with over the last couple years as somebody who's supporting our sustainable improvement plan. So she's sort of like an honorary faculty member at this point as folks build a relationship with Carol and share things with Carol and get feedback as someone that the faculty respects. And then each department had their own time separate from the processing time with Carol to think through those issues and take a breath to take a look at some of the other issues that have come up and have a moment to adjust some of what we're doing on a classroom level and a department level. And all of that is incredibly nuanced. It's going to look different with the vocational teachers whom I met with as a follow-up today at the end of the school day. And that looks different than, the folks I checked in with again today in the world language department, for example. A lot of nuances in the adjustments that folks are making in response to both remote aspects of learning and the in-person aspect of the hybrid approach. So that was really our focus here, looking at researching, reassessing the essential standards and maximizing in-person time with students.
And just quickly looking ahead to December 8th, which is the next day. That's a short day, half day. We will continue offering virtual tool work sessions. We will start taking a look at the assessment data that we're getting back from some of the new assessment systems that we put in place. We'll be looking at how to utilize that data to inform instruction, to create instructional groupings, and how to best provide interventions. We'll also, the Keys to Literacy training that James mentioned, we'll be doing that for paraprofessionals at the elementary school, more dyscalculia. And we're going to work over the next month to go through the entire self-paced catalog and update it and look at the areas and put out basically a survey for asking teachers which of the self-paced options would they like to have highlighted and extended by live trainings. And that will help shape what we do for the rest of the year.
Great. Greg, could you just highlight quickly or focus for a moment? Another important group of our staff and our colleagues are really a central group, our school secretaries. I know they also participated yesterday. Could you just explain to the committee just a little bit of what they did yesterday and probably what you did with them?
Oh, I have a blast with that group. I told them at the beginning, all right, cameras on, microphones on, let's all interrupt each other and really get, let's let this fly, because it's just so hard to teach when cameras are off and microphones are off, and it's just, there isn't any of that liveliness. So it took them about 3-4 minutes of uncertainty, and then it was great. Everybody was talking at once, sharing all kinds of things. I was ostensibly teaching them about Google Docs, the use of Google Forms to gather information, how to export data from school brains, we'll be looking more closely in December at mail merging in Google Docs using an add-on. So these are the kinds of things where being able to facilitate communications with parents by using the information that we have in our systems, is the information, the email addresses, all of those kinds of things, and being able to ask for information from what people need and get it quickly, and then to be able to publish that out. So we, as it turned out, I told them right up front, I'm not the expert, but I do like learning together with people, and we did a lot of learning. They each shared things that they had discovered and that they use in their schools. It turned out to be a really nice session, and they would like to continue, and so I'll probably keep doing something every PD day with them through the rest of the year to focus on those kinds of things.
Great. Thank you, Greg. Any comments from or questions from the committee members?
Samantha?
I just want to say I'm really impressed. And I'm also very envious. Maybe Greg, you can facilitate some technology training for us school committee. We didn't get half as much as you guys did in the self-paced technology training. So bravo.
Well, Greg, thank you, and Lynn and James. It's been very informative, and it's a lot of great work going on, and can keep up the good work and keep it coming. Thank you.
Jonathan, if you don't mind, just for a moment, I want to have a couple of comments, and I think these are all obvious, but I'd be remiss in not highlighting a few things, which is, first of all, just the really important theme is, I think James put up, but other folks did, we're supporting our staff, and our staff are working together on a few very important levels. One is self-care and mind and taking care of themselves, and especially in these times, which are so hard. That's, from the beginning, something we've tried to support as best we can in that area, and help them with resources and time to do that, and just highlighting the importance of it. Another piece is this skill development around technology, which Samantha just mentioned, and as you can see, doing a whole bunch of that. The third area is taking care of the students and really supporting them, and James highlighted that in the relationship building, which we really focus on across all our schools, but also then the physical safety, the emotional safety, mindfulness, and then another piece, especially at a veterans and also O'Malley, is the sort of trauma responsive teaching as well, all based on understanding the kids and supporting them on levels beyond just academically. And then the last piece, which all those lead up to, is just really helping and supporting the teachers working together and the schools working together to move themselves forward on teaching and learning. So those are 4 areas which I just see us continuing to move forward on, which is amazing in these days. The other piece about what I saw here and what we're experiencing, what I want the community to understand is that it's focused, it's organized in a way where we continue to go deeper on things we're already working on. And then it's balanced. And by balanced, I mean it's balanced between school-based, district-based, or district-wide, balance between scheduled time and time where folks can do their own thing at their own pace or with their own teams. And also balanced because it's led by outside experts and facilitators and our internal experts, who are in our schools. So it's really, as you all see, but just to highlight, incredibly well organized, incredibly well thought through, incredibly well, led and facilitated. And then also, I think a tremendous benefit to our staff and colleagues and how they work together. And I will say this is that I've worked in a lot of school districts and seen a lot of school districts, and there are not many. I think Gloucester needs to know there are not that many that have an approach that's this well organized and this well thought out, particularly in going through COVID and a pandemic. It's a real credit to James and Lynn and their leadership. Certainly Greg Bach, who I cannot say enough about and don't say enough about, in his leadership and organization for many years. There are other principals, but then especially our staff as well, who will stand up and step up and work together and are absolutely committed to their own professional growth. So it's really a remarkable thing. And being new here, I just want to make sure I reflect that out to folks that this isn't customary, what you see here. It's really very, very, it's very much a leading, a leading edge.
Okay, thank you. So thanks again, James, Lynn, Greg. That was very good. And let's move on. Committee reports. Program met just before this meeting. Do you want to report out on that, or do you want to just wait until next week when you're going to bring it up for a vote?
Yeah, it just makes sense when the goals come forward. We can talk about it then.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. And there weren't any other subcommittee meetings. So we'll move on to action. So we have the second reading of the non-discrimination harassment policy file AC. As you remember, we had a first reading. I don't believe there were any significant changes suggested. So do we have a motion to proceed? Well, first of all, let's make a motion to waive the actual reading of the policy.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Okay. Maria, could we have a roll call vote?
Mayor Taken,
Yes.
Ms. Watson,
Yes.
Ms. Weason,
Yes.
Kathy Clancy,
Yes,
Mr. Favazza,
Yes.
Chairman Pope,
Yes.
and Ms. Prince.
Yes,
Okay. It carries unanimously. So now we need a motion to approve the second reading of the non-discrimination policy file AC.
So moved.
second.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Okay. Seeing none, we will proceed with a vote. Once again, the roll call, Maria.
Mayor Taken,
Yes.
Ms. Watson,
Yes.
Ms. Weason,
Yes.
Kathy Clancy,
Yes,
Mr. Favazza,
Yes.
Chairman Pope,
Yes.
and Ms. Prince. Ms. Prince?
yes,
Thank you.
Okay. So it carries unanimously. Now, I believe we need to make a motion to rescind the previous policy that this replaces, and I don't have it right in front of me.
ACAB.
ACAB. So we need a motion to, I guess, rescind it. Sounds good enough. Policy, harassment policy, ACAB.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none. Maria, roll call vote.
Mayor Taken,
Yes.
Ms. Watson,
Yes.
Ms. Weason,
Yes.
Kathy Clancy,
Yes.
Mr. Favazza,
Yes.
Chairman Pope,
Yes.
and Ms. Prince. Ms. Prince?
Yes. Can you hear me? Yes?
Can now, yes, thank you.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Okay, so it
Sorry,
carries
buddy.
unanimously. And we'll move on to acceptance of Gloucester Education Foundation grants. There's a total of $11,825 in grants, in 4 separate grants, $1,200 to elementary schools to fund postage for remote academy, $1,125 to Beaman Memorial School to purchase ukuleles for the 5th grade, $7,000 for Gloucester High School for music technology upgrades, and $2,500 to West Parish School for a grade 5 play. So we can take these all together, and the total is $11,825 from the Gloucester Education Foundation.
I move to accept all the grants.
Second.
Second, okay. Is there any discussion? Joel?
So obviously, a thank you goes out, but I'm particularly excited about the $7,000 grant to the GHS Music Department for, to provide the ability to make quality music recordings remotely and in school. There are a lot of students at GHS who are musicians and, and recent grads and current seniors, Juliana Bolognese and Brooke Cleary. I know they all, went to GHS. Brooke is in the band, and the ability to let Mr. Fleury work with the students and provide them some education on how to properly record, I think is going to be great for the young musicians that we have at the high school. So I'm just really excited to see what they're able to do with that.
Great. I agree completely. Any other comments or discussion? Once again, we're very grateful for the Gloucester Education Foundation and all of the work that they do for all of the students in Gloucester. So Maria, could we have a roll call vote?
Mayor Taken,
Yes.
Ms. Watson,
Yes.
Ms. Weason,
Yes.
Kathy Clancy,
Yes.
Mr. Favazza,
Yes.
Chairman Pope,
Yes.
and Ms. Prince.
Yes.
Okay. It carries unanimously. Ben, you want to?
Sorry for interrupting. I missed a chunk of the presentation about the schools in terms of the COVID update, which it won't take long, but I'd like to give it to you at some point. If this is a good time or not. Sorry.
Well, this is the we don't have anything else on the agenda except this. So I'm sure it's very important what you have to say.
It is. Sorry, I got distracted and very energized by the PD and just skipped it. So there isn't much from last week, but I'll make it quick. It's essentially all very good news. So you can see where it says COVID update. Great. So again, our mantra continues to be keep it up, Gloucester, keep us in. I'll give you a few updates here. First, just on the citywide community transmission, as everyone knows, is one of our key metrics, that and school transmission. Gloucester is doing a great work on this across the whole city. You'll see at this point, November 4th, we have 8 active cases across the entire city. That's down exponentially from just 2 weeks ago. And the health department anticipates that we'll be in the yellow tomorrow on the state map, which is one indicator, obviously, of the average number of daily new cases over the past 2 weeks. So so that we were in red for 2 weeks and now going to yellow, which is good progress. I've shared this before, but this is just a reminder about that same map, that we shouldn't be using it as the single evidence or single barometer of whether or not we should stay in school. And by using school-wide transmission, community transmission, that map, positivity, test positivity data and others, we will continue to monitor very closely with the Department of Health on where we stand and how we should continue. But it's good news. In terms of in the schools, just been one new case since last week, and all the other cases are resolved. Only 2 of those cases have had more than 5 close contacts, and there continues to be no transmission within the schools, meaning no positive cases within the schools have led to more positive cases in the schools. So we're still on that track, which is great news, and an example of how schools have not shown so far anyway, our schools and others around the Commonwealth to be places where transmission is spreading, which is great news for not only for us, but for schools around the Commonwealth. The last piece, you may be aware of the governor, coming out with new orders yesterday related to COVID. I just wanted to give you a quick update on that they really do not impact our schools. Order number 54 is regulating gatherings, but private and public K-12 elementary schools are exempt from those gathering limits. And the other one was order number 55 requiring face coverings in public. Essentially, our rules from Department of Education and your policy already cover that and extend our mask, our face covering, policy beyond what the state is mandating at this point. The order 55 does allow employers to request medical documentation if folks do not comply with the order to wear face coverings. But we've already, because of DESE and because of your policy, already an agreement with in our work with the GTA, already are operating that way. So that's the news. That's all I have for that, but just want to make sure that it is good news that I remember to share it with all of you. So stop that.
Okay. Any questions? I'd just like to say that it's interesting that there's no transmission within the schools, and also that we follow the rules in the schools. We wear face masks, we socially distance, we just want to lament that, if everybody did this everywhere, we could put this to rest a lot quicker. So, Samantha.
I also just want to comment again on how appreciative I am, and I know so many other community members were for the testing. I think it just helped everybody's collective anxiety to know that when there's a spike, we know that we can, get to the bottom of it quickly and prevent it. So I really want to put that out there because that was so hugely important to keeping schools running.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Samantha, you're absolutely right about that. The quick work by the mayor's team and the Department of Health to support family members and community members about knowing what to do, supporting them and helping them doing it. It was such quick work, getting the testing, obviously, and you are absolutely right. It has helped the schools tremendously. And the work by the families to quarantine their family members and self-isolate is necessary. We do see that and not only here, but around the Commonwealth, that much of the spread is happening within families. So the work that the Department of Health and the mayor's team did to educate people and help people understand what to do was a tremendous benefit to the schools, and we should all be deeply appreciative of those families' work.
All right. We are supposed to approve the superintendent's report. Something that we do we've gotten out of the habit of doing, but so I'd like to make a motion that we approve the superintendent's report.
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
Is it approval or is it acceptance?
Acceptance, excuse me. You're right, Joel.
So Jonathan, can I ask a question to be clear? I mean, usually we get a written report signed off by the superintendent, and we haven't been getting that in our packet.
Well,
we've been getting an update on schools. Is that what you're saying the superintendent report is?
Well, with the new superintendent, I mean, that's the way Rich
Yeah.
used to do it. He used to give us a written report. What Ben has been doing is providing these slideshows. And so I think the they serve as the report.
Okay.
And I think that as long as he makes those available, what we need to do is have him make those available to us. They're not in the packet generally, but that would serve as a report unless somebody disagrees. Joel?
And trust me, I'm not looking for him to do more work by any means. I'm just trying to understand what it is we're accepting.
I think I've welcomed the change. I hope we'd stick with it. We used to get, you're right, Dr. Sapphire's written report was thorough, but then it would get presented to us again at the meeting, and it was always kind of like, well, I just read this thing, now I'm hearing it again, right? So that Superintendent Lummis puts us through it once. I appreciate.
Well, so Ben, if you can just make that available to the school committee after the report, so you hold all the excitement for the presentation itself, which apparently is what we crave, and I think that will serve as a report. So,
We're being recorded anyways. You can go anytime and actually see him and report it.
yeah.
But I will continue to keep you in suspense at the very last moment. But no, it does allow because a fair bit of this, especially the updates on health, which we've been doing a lot of, are come up to the day of, and so it's good they're current this way. And then also, for example, you got a report on something that happened yesterday too. So, but I'll make them available not only to you, but also make sure that they're available on our website in a very regular fashion too. Thank you.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second to accept the superintendent's report. Can we have a roll call vote, Maria?
Mayor Taken,
Yes.
Ms. Watson,
Yes.
Ms. Weason,
Yes.
Kathy Clancy,
Yes.
Mr. Favazza,
Yes.
Chairman Pope,
Yes.
and Ms. Prince.
Yes.
Okay, it passes unanimously. That brings to an end all of our scheduled business. Is there any items that anybody would like to bring up before we adjourn? Laura?
Jonathan, were you going to mention the Swearer Medal ceremony tonight?
Yeah, maybe Ben has probably more detail than I do.
Great, thank you, Laura, for asking. Yeah, so we're going to have we've been working with myself, Ms. DeLisi, and Principal Cook have been working to sort this out in a time of COVID. At one point, we thought that we could do it in person in the high school auditorium because, we could safely distance in there. And then we remembered that DESE has guidance and limits on school events, which will not allow us to do it because it's limited to 25 in terms of events that have people come into the school. It would take more than that because they're 19 award winners themselves plus family. So instead we will, and we've just been sorting through this and actually came to a final decision today. November 18th and 19th, the students will receive their medals in a ceremony during the school day. So the reason it's on 2 different days because they're split the cohorts. So some kids are in the crimson cohort, some are in the cream. They'll do it during the homeroom time in the auditorium. We'll have a limited number of folks involved. We will extend an invite to the mayor and Chairman Pope, myself, and then some of the high school folks. We will record that. Mr. Lisi's helping us to, I think, reach out to 1623 to record that. So then it can be shared once put together with families. They can see their student, getting the medal awarded, and we'll also post that publicly for folks to view. And I'm sorry, also Jenny Benedict will be invited to help folks understand the legacy behind the Sawyer medals and the generosity of the family. So that's sort of how we're going to do it. Again, looked at some options about doing like a version, a Zoom version, but thought that having the kids in person, even though it won't have the families there, will be best.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, and then the families will be notified and be aware of their children who've been awarded.
So what is the time on the 18th and 19th, please?
Sure, 8:20 in the morning on the 18th and noon on the 19th.
Okay. Kathy?
As you know, this weekend is the MASC. Both in the morning, there's a speaker. I can't remember what the topic is, but if anybody is so inclined, I believe the speaker begins at 9:30 in the morning. And historically, when we've gone to the conference in person, usually the speaker, the keynote speaker, has been quite, really good to listen to. And you always took away a few things that kind of reinvigorated you or gave you some things to think about and tools to be a better committee member. So there's that. So I just wanted to highlight that. And the second thing is there are different resolutions that we'll be voting on, me as the delegate. So if anybody has any input as to any of those particular things before the vote, please reach out to me. I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Then do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, Maria.
Mayor Taken,
Yes.
Ms. Watson,
Good night, everyone. Be safe.
Ms. Watson,
Sorry, yes.
Ms. Weason,
Yes.
Kathy Clancy,
Yes.
Mr. Favazza,
Yes.
Chairman Pope,
Yes.
and Ms. Prince.
Yes, good night, everyone. Thank you, Maria.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. And this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.